and been doing some interesting things. We finished, well, not finished, but we had just another wine blending session recently. And yeah, it just poses a lot of questions. Mitch, back again, local guy. Yeah, we've been blending for the last couple of hours or so. A couple of hours? At least hour and a half to 2 hours blending wine. And it just always poses some interesting questions. It's a really interesting part of the job where part of me wants to stream blending wine, but part of me doesn't, because whether it would take away the mystery of it, and sometimes the discussions feel a bit cold. That's okay. Yeah, I just want to make it interesting. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll share everything. So yeah, blending wine, it could feel a bit cold if you knew, because sometimes it's business decisions. You talk about what do you need to make, and sometimes you're talking about what faults there are in a wine. So it's not necessarily a completely viewer-friendly thing. But I think the outcomes are worth talking about and bits. And, it was 2 hours to make one wine, actually, or at least the first draft of one wine. We're not there yet. We'll probably come back to it when we've got the full range together. But yeah, we tried to make two, but we decided against it. So we've come out with one after this afternoon session. The one we came up with was our Branwen. Branwen is an ongoing, not issue, but it's amazing. The response to Branwen has been incredible. Branwen, if you don't know, is our rosé. Our first rosé, the vineyard's very first rosé ever. And again, I've told this story a few times. It's a very long-winded way of making it. Basically, it was a bit of a mistake, Branwen. I tried to make one thing and ended up making another thing. And it's had people love Branwen. Luna Housen's a dog. She is a friend of a friend's dog account. Not really a dog there. So yeah, how do you remake a mistake? And this element of consistency in wine. How consistent can you be? How consistent should you be? How consistent do people expect you to be? And when we're blending wines, we're constantly asking these questions. On the one hand, you've got, what are we about to run out of stock of, and what do we need? What sells? What do people want? What can we make is probably the overarching question in all of this. You know what you might want to make, but can you make it? Hence, this afternoon we tried to make two wines and we worked out that we couldn't. We could only make one of them. It didn't feel like a good representation. It felt like it was not coming together well or easily, and so we decided not to. And there's lots of these little bits when we're making wine. Obviously, it's all about taste. You try to make the very best wine you can that tastes delicious, but there are many more questions to ask. So it's quite a tiring thing, this. Again, 2 hours to try to make two wines, and that is just the first draft, without even considering the quantities you've got in tasks. That is just making the ideal thing. It's really interesting. So what have we got so far? So yes, we did our rosé this afternoon, which is very different from our 18. Our 18, robust, powerful, aromatic, a big brutish rosé, hugely powerful, really interesting, lovely wine. I love that wine. But it came out as a mistake in one of the best vintages in recent decades. So it's quite hard to make, and we found that with the blending this afternoon, that it's going to come out lighter. It resembles something. It is a delicious wine, but which brand does it fit? Is it Branwen, which is our rosé, or is it Sabrina, which is our Siga blend? And so we'll see when it's been bottled, after it's sat for a bit, how we feel more comfortable describing it. It is either a very, very pale rosé. It is not like the 18, because 2019 wasn't like 18. And so you can't really copy those same conditions. We didn't get the same grapes, so we can't make the same wine. Or is it a slightly blush, slightly pinker fruited Sabrina? And which one feels more correct? And these are all the questions we're asking ourselves. So Branwen, or at least the Siga was today's project. We've also done the Madeleine, which was nice. We kind of ended on a high note yesterday, and we just thought we'd finish it off this afternoon. Madeleine's come out quite nicely. And when we're blending all these wines, which again comes back to consistency. How much do you want it to fit into a certain character, certain word, certain descriptors, or how open do you want it? How precise do you want these wines to be every year? And again, we haven't got the answer, and every wine is slightly different. My approach and our approach right now is vaguely describe the wines in a couple of words and try to get that, but get the best version of using those descriptors. So Madeleine, for example, we want it to be a flowery, soft wine. It should be dry, easy drinking, and really I'm trying to push the flowers in it. I'm trying to get the kind of the nice little gentle aromatics from it. But then within there, what if that Madeleine you've got from that vintage comes out as more acidic than you like? And what if the wine that you make comes out as more acidic than people are used to? It's a great wine, but is it what we want Madeleine to be and what people want Madeleine to be? And that's just a real tricky thing, is that wine good enough to overcome people's expectations of it? So with Madeleine, we've come out with a nice little delicate wine. It's more acidic than some vintages, but less acidic than others. So that's an interesting one. We blended our orange Kerner yesterday, or a couple of days ago. Orange Kerner being our natural wine, being our version of a skin contact experimental wine. And that one was easy to do because it can be what it wants to be. It is, people have no expectations of it because it's my winemaker series. It is a one-off wine, do what I want, wear my heart on my sleeve, make an interesting wine no matter what. And so there was a bit of, do we want it to be a bit more palatable? Do we want it to be a bit more mainstream? Or do we want it to really, experimental side or normal side? And we had two versions, both were nice, but it was this question of what is it? Do we want it more orange or do we want it more easy? I think we've gone for the slightly easier one actually, because it tasted nice and there was quite a significant difference in palate.